knowing that you've done it yourself is rewarding. And as long as you stay true to yourself and your story and you're authentic and you don't let the whole process, change the way that you are, it's good. I think it's just the best to just keep it organic and let people know that it hasn't been easy and like might not have on paper what I need to have my business, but hey, look at me, like I'm still here and I'm doing it and I'm doing it well.
You're listening to the 9 to Survive podcast, where we speak to the most inspiring entrepreneurs of Australia. I'm your host, Alex Whiteside, the CEO of EasyCompanies. Running your own business can be quite daunting and scary. We're here to show you how to face those fears and help you build your dream today. We listen to the innovators, the game changers, and the thought leaders who have built their startups from the ground up. Hear what makes them tick, how they've overcome their own failures, and be inspired to take your own leap of faith and ignite your passion for business. So on today's podcast, we have Louise. So she's running a Melbourne-based fashion brand called Eliya the Label, and she'll be talking about how she scaled the business and, out of a home office and now into a very successful fashion brand. So don't forget to like and subscribe the podcast if you haven't already, and if you're watching on YouTube, click the little bell on the bottom. So welcome to the show, Louise.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's great to have you here. Now, we're down here in actually Melbourne in your offices. We've been filming a business story. So it's been really good kind of seeing everything that's going on here. Very high vibe office space.
Thank
and
you.
Everything's very clean and well laid out. So I think it's a phenomenal business you're running here.
Thank you.
I've seen what really stood out to us is a huge Instagram following. So you're obviously doing something very special.
I think Instagram's like really important for us. We're all girls at the office as well, and we're always spending all our time on Instagram. So we really use that to, connect and channel with the customers. I think when you reach out to customers and you're able to, give them sort of a personalized shopping experience through your Instagram feed, it's a really nice way to connect with the customer.
Yeah, it seems that way. And obviously that's a pretty modern marketing technique now, for especially e-commerce vendors.
I think it's probably one of the most important things for anyone with an e-com business to make sure that they're on top of their social media, because most people nowadays are spending their time on social media. So it's a good way to connect with them.
Go where the audience is, right?
Yeah.
So what got you into running a fashion brand? Where, and I mean, what I always like to know is where did the journey begin? What were you doing before running a business? And what did you want to be? I guess you can start by kind of saying what did you want to be when you were growing up, or what got you passionate when you were younger?
I think throughout school, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do 100%. I always knew I loved fashion, but going to a private school, I studied and I was really good academically. So I thought, I like chemistry, so I'm going to do something in the biomedical field. And I ended up going to uni and studying pharmaceutical science and got a job in that field and, gave it a go, but I didn't 100% love it. And I reached that turning point where I was like, you know what, I love fashion. I've always loved fashion. People are always asking me where I'm getting my clothes from. Why can't I, do something for myself and start a brand? And, it's sort of something I'd thought about doing, but never really had the courage to do.
Yeah,
so
it's
I think,
pretty brave.
Yeah, it's a complete career change for me. I was doing sciences.
Did
and
you
now
ever
I'm doing
imagine
fashion.
you'd be here running a business?
Imagine, yes. Dream of doing it, yes. Not actually 100% knowing I could physically do it. So it's a great feeling to know that, I took that risk and did it, and it's doing well.
Yeah, and that's very ambitious. So so the idea came from, you having a very passion for fashion, to bring that up again, passion for fashion. But where did that idea kind of come from in terms of your life experience? What did you always know you were going to be in fashion? You said before that for you're in pharmaceuticals, so it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, no, it didn't make sense for me initially, but deep down within me, I sort of always knew that I was always creative and I loved creating things. I loved drawing, and I feel like that's not something you can really just wake up one day and want to do. You've had to, from when you were a younger age, always want to do that and always enjoyed doing that. So yeah, I think from a young age it was always there, but then having when you're young, you're naive, you don't really have the courage to step out and take a risk. But, you know, when you get older and you've been able to experience what it's like working in different fields, you become more aware of what you want for yourself, and that in its sense gives you the courage to take a risk and take on a new challenge.
Yeah, that's right. And I mean, what, in terms of like getting the business off the ground, what was the hardest like step that you had to take to kind of launch it?
I think quitting my job.
Yeah, that's the common one.
Yeah. So like just obviously working 9 to 5 and having a steady income to leaving work, not having income, investing all your savings into a project that you're not 100% sure is going to work, because you might think your product's amazing, but you don't know the reaction you're going to get. So I think that's probably the most daunting thing initially, but I overcame that quite quickly when I launched my first range and I saw that people love this, and it gave me the courage to like be a bit more, you know, take more risks with the design process and not kind of keep it really tight and conservative. So yeah.
It's what kind of came up around, like when we quit our jobs to run a business, there's obviously a lot of like blocks in the way or fear. What was the biggest fear that came up for you?
Honestly, it's I think the perception that people would have, like, oh, she didn't study fashion, or she can't do this, like she's not even, you know, people, you leave yourself very vulnerable to judgment. So I think I was quite nervous as to like, you know, what if it doesn't do well, and then everyone's going to be like, failure. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
So I think that's self-doubt from the start, but when you know, stick to something and then you do see results and you do see that you get a good return and a good response, you don't really mind about that sort of judgment anymore.
Yeah, and I guess just because the fear's there doesn't mean it's not the right direction to take, right? And exactly. I feel like sometimes that's what holds us back from living the life we want to live or running the business we want to run, because it's like, it's all just too much, and what are my family going to think? What if it fails? All the what ifs you can go through.
And even just like the fear of, if this doesn't work, what am I going to do? Because like you weren't happy where you were, and you're sort of holding on to this new idea and thinking this is what I want to do, but then you're like, well, what if that doesn't actually work for me? Like, what am I gonna, what then am I gonna do? So yeah.
So how did you get over that? Like, obviously you did it anyway, right? But was there anything that helped you overcome that fear of what people are going to think?
I think just being really knowledgeable and taking the time to learn everything, so that you prevent yourself from being in situations that will cause you to fail. But I think also just coming to the terms with the fact that it is a learning process, and just accepting that if you do fail the first time, it doesn't mean you stop. Like, you can take another path and do it a different way and start again.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people get too consumed about like the timing and stuff like that. I think that you don't need to put a time restraint on what you're doing. Like, if you want to do it, if it takes you 5 years or if it takes you 10 years or 1 year, like, it doesn't matter, as long as you're focused to get to that end result and you don't let anything deter you on the way.
It's like you kind of feel it, but you do it anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely, I think that's what Brené Brown says about vulnerability, right?
Yeah.
Do you follow Brené Brown?
No.
No, you haven't seen her?
No.
She's got a Netflix special at the moment, but it's all about vulnerability.
Okay.
And she's like, you know, courage is like feeling the fear, but kind of doing it anyway.
Yeah.
And I think that's the thing. When we run a business, we are putting ourselves out there for criticism and judgment. Like, there is that potential, but the rewards are definitely there, right?
Yeah, definitely. I think that makes it, like, if you have the reward part there, it just washes out any fear that you could have of failing, because you're like, well, that's what I need to keep me driving forward. Like, I'll just focus on the fact that this is done well and this is successful, and you use that to fuel you and keep you going. Yeah.
So like, what's worked really well in business for you, or what's now working? What do you see in this fashion brand that's working for you?
I think learning to let go a little bit, and not micromanaging everyone. Mm-hmm. I think any young startup or small business would agree that when you start a business, it becomes your baby, and you don't really think anyone can do the task for you. and you want to do everything. But I think once you accept that there's people out there that, will have the same vision as you and may be able to like add a valuable asset that you can't add to the business.
To the mix, yeah.
I think that's something I've learnt and really I find it very valuable.
Yeah, I think that's something that I struggled with actually when I was, the business gets kind of off the ground, then you have a team, and then it's like you're meant to kind of hand over the team, but you still want to do everything yourself, right?
Yeah.
It kind of holds you back in a way. That's what I felt. It's like I've got the team, but I'm still like looking over their shoulder, like, how's everything going? Is that done yet?
And when you start out a business, you think about the core of the business as in, like for us, for me, it's designing. And when you start to grow and you take on a team, you have to be like a role model, a leader, managing like staff and stuff. And it's, you didn't really expect that initially because you just thought, okay, I'm just gonna start this business, see how it goes. But then all these other responsibilities come with it. Yeah. And it's quite a challenge sometimes to deal with new things coming in and sort of like wrecking your tunnel vision. Like you have to be accepting that people are going to be able to come in and help you and it'll be beneficial for you once you let go.
Well, the challenges come up and it's like you think once I get through this challenge, then it's all going to be good. The business is going to run. And I often wonder, like in my head, at least sometimes it's like, what's the fantasy of having no challenges? Like it's just going to be a breeze, but then what, right?
Yeah.
It just sometimes feels like we just want everything to the business is going to be fine and there won't be any challenges. You just kind of to work.
Sometimes I do say, like with running a fashion business, it's hard because you've always got to be on top of your game. You've always got to be thinking of what's next. You're going to launch a product and people are going to want something new after a month or two. So there's times where I'm like, I just wish I could design one amazing thing that people are going to want forever. And it just, but it's not like that with fashion. But then I love that about fashion because every day we're developing something new and, you can put different spins on different garments. And I think that challenge makes the job rewarding.
Yeah, of course. So like, how did you, if you didn't, I mean, you were interested in fashion and, that was obviously somewhere you were heading, but how do you get a business off the ground, a fashion brand, without having that background in it or that knowledge?
I think for me, I definitely accepted the fact that I was not a genius in textile design. So for me, I thought it was best to go to China and meet with manufacturers. And that way I could build that relationship with them face to face. And, I was always good at drawing, so that definitely helped. But then being there with them at the factory initially when I was developing my first samples, it helped me convey my ideas face to face a lot easier because there is the language barrier that's always going to be a challenge with anyone manufacturing overseas. So I think initially going there and meeting with the suppliers and, being able to show them your direction and what your product end result should be gives them that sort of idea of, well, next time we do a design, this is the sort of fit and this is the sort of style and the cuts and the fabrics that they like. So I think definitely having the opportunity to go there and meet people at trade fairs was a really big benefit for initially starting out without that knowledge of the technique.
It must be interesting to have never, or like kind of going to China and starting this other side of the business in a way, because obviously you're working with different manufacturers there, but how like that's a big leap to take, right? Yeah. To understand all the customs, how it all works.
Yeah, I think relationship was so important to me. Like in the whole thing, I knew that if I wanted to do this properly, I needed a good relationship with the people that I was going to be trusting to make my designs. So as scary as it was, I think it's more scary to trust someone over an email or, a website that says they can make this design address style and they...
Well, especially for the quality
quality is so important for the brand.
Yeah.
So I think going there and hand picking fabrics and choosing all your finishes and stuff and really getting the company that's manufacturing your goods to understand how important quality is very, very important.
Yeah. And like, how do you go about running quality control in that sense?
Yeah. So I go there 3 times a year. There's always companies you can outsource and the factories have their own QC teams there. But I think when you go there and check things out for yourself, you pick up things that maybe would be overlooked by them, like small details that are important to you and your customers here that they might not think is a big deal. And I think as well, when you do go there and they see how serious you are about, you've got to make sure the quality's up to scratch at all times, then moving forward, they know not to take any shortcuts, and they know that if they're going to send you a production batch and there's going to be a thing that they've overlooked, that you are going to pull them up on it. So
yeah, of course. And so I mean, how do you face competition in this industry? Like, how there's obviously big brands like the Iconic and ASOS, and I know that you partner with Iconic,
yes,
but in a sense they're still a competitor, right?
Of course. Even like all your stockists as well, like you want to push sales, you want customers to go to their stores as much as possible, but they feel that there's a challenge that they're essentially competing with you and your online store. So I think it's important to sort of find that balance and make sure you're also directing your customers to their stores to help support them. But in terms of competition with like other brands, I think it's really important. Well, I've noticed for myself, it's been really beneficial to just focus on what you're doing, because your time is valuable. And when you start getting consumed about what this person's doing, and you waste time that you could better use designing and focusing on how to make your next range better, rather than just looking back and thinking, oh, look what they're doing. Like,
yeah, I think that's the thing. If you're too focused on what your competitors are doing, then you forget about what you're doing.
100%.
It's like, this is what we should be doing because that's working, but you don't know that it's working for them, right?
Yeah, and I think like the success of this particular brand is because it's so unique and different, and it's not necessarily following a trend. We all just design what we like and what we think would be amazing, and I think that's why customers respond so well to the brand, because it's not what you normally expect in any brand. Like, it's unconventional, it's wild, it's
it's different,
yeah,
because
it's different.
it's not what you normally see. And I think that's where a lot of businesses get stuck. They think we have to follow this convention, or maybe even in the fashion game, it's like we have to follow this convention of what should be and just stick within these boundaries. But it's also like, if you go too far out, then you're kind of niche and it's hard to pick up, right? You've found this edge between like convention but kind of being out there as well.
I think that comes down to hand selecting fabrics and stuff as well, like not just using stock standard fabrics, like investing time to go and find and develop amazing fabrics that are different. I think most brands these days just stick to what is sort of safe. Whereas sometimes we use fabrics that aren't really meant to be for garments. Like, they could be for curtains and other sort of textiles, but it just works.
It works, yeah. It comes across. Yeah, it's fascinating. And I mean, I think it's always an interesting journey of the entrepreneur. And I know we covered this a bit before, but what do you think it takes to make you a good entrepreneur?
I think you need to be a risk taker, definitely. You need to be someone that, is always driven and ready to take on the good and the bad. I think you need to be strong in yourself to know that not everything's going to be smooth sailing, but you need to learn how to just adjust to that situation and make the best of it. That's going to push you forward, rather than getting stuck in like a rut of a situation. I think also just it's mostly about having confidence in yourself. I think like it's just the most important thing, and not accepting like a normal life. Like, you always want more, and you're always going to want to push more. And even if you're doing really, really great, you're like, okay, what's the next better or bigger thing that I can do?
Yeah, how can we be more innovative?
Yeah.
Like, sometimes for me, it seems like I get these ideas of like, I'm just going to go back to a normal job. It's not that I want to, it's just sometimes they would be so much easier.
Yeah.
Like, when you you face all of this pushback, and you're like, yeah, why don't I just go back to a normal job? It'll be easy, but it won't. You'll still face challenges there, because you want to be back being an entrepreneur.
Exactly. And then I think just when you have that doubt that I'm not going to, like, why am I doing this? I can just go back. I can go home at 5 o'clock and I don't have to think about anything. But then when you actually succeed in what you're doing as an entrepreneur, like it's just so rewarding that you forget about that phase, and it's just like this vicious cycle of, oh, this is great, this is bad, this is okay, no, this is really bad, oh, I'm really good now. Like it's
you got to enjoy
journey.
the times when it's up, right? That's what I noticed, because it's like if you're always like in the troughs and then you're like, this is so bad, but then it's good and you're like, yeah, it's all good now, and it's not like you're celebrating those wins.
I think it's important to like step back and acknowledge how far you've come and recognize your achievements. And
it must be a good feeling to walk into the office every day like, this has a really good vibe here.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And seeing what they're doing upstairs in terms of designing fabrics, does that make you proud?
Definitely. Obviously, yeah. So I started out, so I started out from home. Like I was doing everything from my bedroom and storing all our stock in, I would say my stock in the garage, because I wasn't a team back then. But having this beautiful space here, like like we all loved coming to work, and it's the fact that it's just like a really creative space. There's no real strict rules. Like you can come in and just draw and create, and it's just amazing. I think we all like equally love being here, but I think for me it's more like, that was one of my accomplishments, being able to say like, I've got this beautiful showroom now. It's got our warehouse here where all the picking and packing is done.
It all just kind of happens under one umbrella, right? And I think that could, well, at least what I see, it could be a point of differentiation, because you're so close to what's happening, and especially at this size of the business, which is incredible given how much you've scaled.
Thank you.
You're very close to the operations, at least for now, so you can get it right at the start.
I don't know if that's just going back to me just micromanaging everything, but I think it's been honestly a positive, because I can, be in control of like orders going out and customers and wholesale, but then I can go upstairs and check on design and see what they're doing. So it's good to be able to like work with everyone in the team, not feel like there's like any sort of disconnect.
I find as an entrepreneur, it's good to have the 360 view of all the different roles in the business before you just go and bring people on.
Definitely.
Because it's like you go and hire someone for finance, but if you don't know the finance yourself, how do you know that it's healthy?
Exactly.
So if you don't know the back ops of this business, like the shipping and all that kind of stuff, how do you know what should be done?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so I think one of the parts in terms of what I see is like, if you're not hands-on with everything, then you don't really know what's going on. And when I went out and got a kind of bookkeeper, it's like I can hand off that component of the business, but how do I know what a good bookkeeper is going to do? So it's like you kind of dip your toes in everything and then you understand it, but then you get the specialists.
I think it's important that you first know how to run every aspect of the business, because like you said, if you don't know, then how do you measure how well another person's doing their job? But I think once you know everything, it is good to like delegate the task to someone that's might have the qualification or better skills than you to do that particular job.
I guess there needs to be a level of trust too, right? That's what I noticed. Like, and I guess that gets back to the micromanaging, because I've been there myself. It's like you need to trust that person can do their job, but that's always hard because there's no other calibration of knowing that everything's going right. It's almost like waiting for things to go wrong and then realize they've gone wrong.
Definitely.
Like giving them the space, would you say?
Yeah, like with which you actually saw first-handedly, I sort of give my staff the creative freedom to do what they want. I'll say this is the direction of the design, this is the fabric, but I let them be the creative director in a sense, like, because I don't know, I feel like when you do trust them, they're more happy to do their job because there's more of a sense of pride with the work. Whereas if you're sort of just doing what you're told to do, it's like, I don't want to do this. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think trusting your staff is really, really important, and giving them that freedom to, let them evolve into and grow in the role that they're in.
Yeah, and how do you keep motivated? How do you?
I like to go to the gym and do some boxing. I think it's really important to have, a good balance between work and personal life. I feel like sometimes when I'm too consumed in work, I feel really unmotivated. So I think it's really important to step away and do things that you enjoy doing outside of your job, spending time with family, going for walks, going on weekends away. I think it's really good because it gives you an opportunity to like recharge and refuel and, come back on Monday and feel fresh. So I think, yeah, it's definitely really important to make sure that you're living a really balanced life.
Yeah. And like, where do you see the journey of your business going? Like, where do you see the future of this kind of heading?
I love how it is now. But I think just from a scaling point of view, I think like once everything's 100% in terms of like the supply chain and marketing and everything, it would just be a matter of like taking it to new markets. So going into the Middle East and the US and having proper sales agents there that are really motivated to size and grow the brand over there in different markets. So I think now we've pretty much done really well in Australia and it's going great. So now it's like where to next on the map.
Yeah, like what's the next step?
Yeah.
Yeah, which makes sense. I mean, taking it, if things are going well here, then the obvious next step is to go out and have a look at
we do really well online for overseas. So there's definitely a demand for the brand in places outside of Australia. But I think if we're able to, offer a more in-store experience over there and have stockists in those countries where people can touch and feel and appreciate the quality, then it would be even better than just selling online.
Yeah. So do you see yourself having physical stores eventually?
It's a tough one with the whole retail thing now. Like I don't know, everything's sort of changing and everything.
Model's just kind of, it's fading out. So there's no point getting into it.
Yeah. Like online is so strong. And I think if you stay on top of like what's trending online and with the whole e-commerce space, I think that's where people should be focusing more on like growing their businesses. It's sad, but a lot of stores that we stock, like every so often, they're like, I'm sorry to say, but we're closing, and
so it's very tough.
Yeah, it's definitely tough at the moment. But I think if you focus on content and a good marketing strategy online, most people are spending half their day on their phone.
Yeah, it's true.
And people want things quick and conveniently as well. Like they don't want to have to, disrupt their day and go out to a shop to buy something. They just want to be able to like click add to cart and it gets delivered to them. And I think our society is becoming lazy.
I think we are, but I feel like it goes in cycles. Like we haven't seen the cycle close yet, but it's like we'll go from offline to online.
Yeah.
And then eventually what's going to happen is we're going to come back offline. Offline will be the new trend because it's like, look at even podcasts, for instance, like they're now getting picked up a lot more because people are sick of Facebook content, Instagram content, and potentially even YouTube content. It's just like, I just want to like zone out from all of this very high energy content or, short.
I think podcasts and stuff as well. Like people are seeking organic content. Yeah. There's a lot of staged things on Instagram and people, they become obsessed with this fake idea that people sell on their Instagram page. So I think people like podcasts because it's like a conversation that they can relate to. And
that's it.
And
it, like, I guess getting back to that, it will be interesting to see if once everyone goes online, if then offline is the new thing. Yeah, and we'll don't know. But I mean, on that topic of Instagram, obviously influencers are a big space in the tangible product game, right?
Definitely.
Or e-commerce game. Is that working for you? Are you doing anything in that space?
Yeah, so we do collaborate quite a bit with influencers. It really varies. So sometimes it's hard to measure. Someone that has a lot of followers might not get you the result as someone that has 20,000 followers or 5,000 followers. And I think it goes back to the point I just made that people want to connect with relatable people. And sometimes when an influencer is too big, they become unattainable and you don't relate to the product that they're wearing or trying to sell you. I think like an average person posting a photo in a nice dress, a lot of other people can look at that.
It's going to have higher impact. Yeah. So like even friends and family can be influenced off your audience.
Definitely.
But so you see the key there working with influencers to create the authentic connection. Because I think we're becoming pretty skeptical.
Yeah, I think so as well. Now with the whole Instagram removing the likes and stuff, it's hard to measure who is authentic and who's not.
Well, there's that. It's interesting though because they were saying that potentially Instagram's done that because they want to start monetizing on all of this influencer money.
Yep.
It's just going, to like
you
the
would be surprised how much some of them charge.
Yeah.
Like some quotes that we've got.
So if you think people are putting that money into Instagram. They're putting it into the people on Instagram, but they're putting it into Instagram.
Yeah.
Where does Instagram get anything from that?
Yeah,
Which is
exactly.
interesting. But in that sense, then, is Instagram advertising working for you? Did you do anything in that space?
If it wasn't for Instagram, like we probably wouldn't have grown as
Yeah.
fast as we have in 3 years.
Is that through paid advertising, I mean, or?
We've done some, yeah.
Yeah.
No, we have ongoing campaigns that
Yeah.
we run, which help. But I think, yeah, I wouldn't like, if you think back to how advertising used to be done, I would be like, where am I meant to write in the sky, like our website, like visit this website?
Maybe
like,
that works these days. I don't know.
maybe I
You
should
see
probably
people
try
out
it.
there doing it.
Yeah. So yeah, no, definitely. I think like Facebook ads and stuff are really helpful. At least even just reconnecting with the people that have already been on your website and just sending them that, hey, like look at this product again, you know.
Yeah. Just to remind them.
Just to remind them, because some
Yeah.
people might have quickly looked in their lunch break and then they've forgotten about it, and then they open their Facebook at night and they're like, oh yeah, I was looking at that dress, and then they go through and they transact. So definitely think that advertising is really important. But in saying that, it's also quite difficult to know like what market to like getting your ad set right, and your customer targeting is difficult.
It's very complicated. Yeah.
Yeah. So
And knowing who to target and who
what
your
type
audience
of
is.
ad? There's like so many different types of ad. Do I want a video? Do I want, you know, it's just it's a whole new, like it's a different world. It's a different
Yeah.
language.
It's where it's heading. that's for
Definitely.
sure. So what would you say then the challenges in terms of running a team have been in that sense?
I think again, like the whole just making sure everyone sort of has something to do at all times, and making sure that, you know, the job's getting done without seeming like too bossy.
Yeah.
I just like to be like a team player with the girls, and I think I've struggled with that a little bit, because it's like I don't really want to tell people what to do. Like I just want them to know how to do it and just do it. But yeah, I think mostly that.
Do you have people that help you in terms of this space, like mentoring and?
No, so that's something I've struggled with a little bit, to be honest. When I started out, I didn't have a mentor. So now that's why I like to speak on podcasts and connect, you know, at women's events and stuff, and just help other young women that want to start a business, because I didn't really have that.
Yeah.
I had like my family who have always run businesses. So like having that guidance was really helpful. But to have like a specific mentor, I wouldn't say that that's something that I was fortunate enough to have.
Yeah.
But it's good in a way, because I've learned everything myself. But I do definitely recommend connecting with people in the industry that have, you know, been on a similar path, just to, you know, even if it's just to give you that little bit of confidence, say, yep, you're on the right path, or just give you one piece of advice, like go to this trade fair, or, you know, do this, or don't use this supplier, or just something to make you feel like, yep, okay, I'm on the right path.
Yeah. How do you see, I mean, we're talking about this on the podcast the other day, women in entrepreneurship, and it is a big topic right now. And I see a lot of impact could be made in that area from a range of different people. How do you see like influence can be created and being inspirational in that space?
I think it's amazing now that so many more women are confident enough to, I think like for as long as time, like women are sort of perceived to just be like moving at one pace, whereas now people are stepping up and taking challenges and saying, look, hey, I can do more than what I'm supposed to be doing. So I think it's awesome. And I think it's really good that there's heaps of these seminars on that connect women and encourage women to do more with business. I think, yeah, just even social events, like I've attended some events where it's just basically to meet other girls and make friends and
like network.
Yeah, like I think just networking is so important, because, you know, people look to other women and think, oh, I can do that too. She did that.
Yeah, she's done it.
Yeah.
That's a good way to see it.
Yeah.
Like it is possible. That's very inspirational. And I think it's good that you're getting yourself out there in that sense as inspirational as this brand is.
Thank you.
I think that's going to go far.
I think as well, because I have been very honest all along about, you know, starting up. Like a lot of people that follow me personally on Instagram used to follow me when I worked at my other job. So seeing how organic and authentic my journey has been
yeah,
is really encouraging for other young women. And I like being able to help and share.
Because I
that
think that's
side
a
of it.
thing sometimes, right? Like you look at someone who's run a successful business and it's like, well, maybe they were just lucky, or
Yeah.
maybe, they were born in a family of entrepreneurs or something, or maybe their dad helped them. But
People have said that about me,
yeah,
which is like, why would you say that? But I think knowing that you've done it yourself is rewarding. And as long as you stay true to yourself and your story and you're authentic and you don't let the whole process, change the way that you are, then it's good. I think it's just the best to just keep it organic and, let people know that it hasn't been easy and like might not have on paper what I need to have my business, but hey, look at me, like I'm still here, and I'm doing it and I'm doing it well. So
yeah,
it's
it seems
encouraging
like
for other
that.
people.
It's good.
Yeah.
And I think, and that's good. So it's really just getting people to step up and share their story more.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what it sounds like.
Definitely.
So that's why it's good though. There's a lot of events and podcasts now around that. So it's getting all the stories out there, like this is possible.
Yeah. I think like it comes down to just that doubt and fear of judgment initially. But if someone's there and telling you and encouraging you like, hey, like I was there as well, but I overcame it and look at me now. It's so encouraging for anyone that has that little tickle in them to, start a business. It might be that one little thing that pushes them to actually do it. So,
and that's a good segue. What would you say in terms of someone out there looking to start their business? They're kind of on the edge. They're not sure whether they should or shouldn't. What would you tell them?
try to get a mentor, because I didn't have that. But you don't really need, like, I'm obviously evidence that you can still do it without it. But I think just take your time to research and become knowledgeable, and don't be arrogant in the sense that you think you already know everything. I think forecasting and having a really good business plan is so important, because you can get consumed into thinking, oh yeah, I can just make this. But if you don't break down all the costs that are actually involved and say, oh, freight, custom fees, like all that stuff, you will get stung. And like, you need to make sure that you can actually afford what you're going to do. So I think that should all sort of be determined whilst you're still working full time, and saving up. And you can, say, okay, once I have this amount of money and I've got this amount of knowledge, then I can quit my job. Like, I wouldn't really recommend people to just
quit their job.
Yeah. Like, make sure that you've got your plan in place. You've, taken time to figure out if it's going to be feasible for you before you go in and actually do it.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So look, it's been great having you on the show, and I think it's awesome to see where the future of this goes. And I think you're going to be very successful in that. So
thank you so much for having me. It's been amazing. Thank you.
Great. Thank you.
Thanks.
Also, if you haven't already, check out our YouTube channel. It's available under the EasyCompanies account, and there'll be a 9 to Survive playlist. So I hope you enjoyed the show and look forward to seeing you next time.